Welcome to Alisa Laporte Art, and in today's video we will be working on a portrait study. When choosing a portrait, I like to make sure I have both highlights and shadows. I'm going to wet my paper first. I want the face to be very soft. This is a little girl, so I want to go in wet on wet. For faces, I mostly use primary colors, both warm and cool. I have cad red, cad yellow, and cobalt blue for my warm tones, and alizarin crimson, quinacridone gold, and ultramarine blue for my cool tones. I can go in with a few other colors if I need to, but I mostly stick with my primary colors. It's great for when you are starting out and learning to mix, or you don't have many colors yet. If you would like to learn more about how I get my skin tones using primary colors, you can check out my video on skin tones. I will leave a link in the description below, as well as the colors that I use. I want to start with lots of water and little pigment. I'm looking for the mid-tone in the face. I will leave the highlight as the white of the paper and add the light mid-tone to the rest of the face. I always test my colors on a scrap piece of paper to make sure that it's the right color. If you go over a highlight with your color, or if it bleeds into it, it's okay. You can actually take a clean paper towel and just dab at that area and pull it off. The paper is still fairly damp, so it'll come right out before it soaks in and stays in the paper. While the paper is still wet, I'm going in with the mid-hair tone using more quinacridone gold and cad red with just a touch of ultramarine blue, which will give me a golden brown color. You want to make sure you leave the highlights and soften the edges even more. The color bled over a little more, so I will take my paper towel and a clean, stiff brush, if needed, to lighten that back up. Some people asked how I decide what colors to use on the face and where to use them. You want to look at your subject and really try to see and study what colors are actually there. You have the obvious skin tones that you want to pick up, but your skin also picks up a lot of reflected light and colors from the objects surrounding it, like the greens of the grass, the blue of the sky, and what the subject is wearing. All these things need to be taken into consideration. I see purples and blues within the shadows, some orangey shades near the highlights, so we'll start with that. While it's still wet, I'm going to add the blue of her ribbon, and then we'll create a faint purple for the shadow of her white shirt. While the paper is still damp, you can always use a paper towel to pull out anything that you don't want. Until the paper has fully dried, you can lift those out because it hasn't fully settled into the paper yet. While the paper is still damp, I want to start pulling in a few shadows, and they will stay soft. I just need to allow less water and a little bit more pigment so I don't create blossoms. And I'll use cad red and ultramarine blue to create the violet that I want for those shadows. I'm going to touch it in where I want and then blend it out to make sure that it is nice and soft. The beginning and middle stages of a portrait painting can be a little scary as the face is coming together. It really takes some patience in knowing that it's okay. These are all just part of the steps that you need to get your painting to where it needs to go. Your outermost extremities, like your nose, lips, ears, and cheeks, usually look more red. especially in paintings because of the blood that flows to them to keep them warm. If you notice when you're cold and how your nose and your ears are some of the first things to start to turn red, as well as like your fingers, that's why in a lot of paintings you're gonna see people emphasize that. And also because of the cartilage that's in them, instead of just being solid bone, when the light hits them, you are going to see more red tones in those areas. So I always try to make sure that my nose and my ears, my lips, and even the cheekbones have more red in them. It's just a natural look that we all have. So I want to take some pure red and make sure I go over those areas. If you need to soften any edges, I just get my brush wet, touch it on my paper towel a couple times so it's not too wet and creates blossoms, and then you just smooth out the paint. We do have some warmth in her neck, so now is the time to add that. Then when it dries, it will show through the next layer without becoming muddy. Right now we are focusing on all of those areas with warm tones like the nose, ears, cheeks, and even the chin here. I'm being careful to avoid any areas that I want to keep my highlights. Portraits definitely keep you on your toes. I just keep bouncing around my painting, letting some areas dry while I work on others. Again, I'm going along the edge of the highlight, and it has some hard edges. The bridge of the eye creates a hard edge, while along the cheek it is soft because of the curve that you have around it. It gradually pulls away from the light. If any of you have done oil or acrylics, this is kind of like an underpainting, but with watercolor, this helps to keep your paints looking clean and not muddy. You layer them and create glazes. So you do a layer, you allow it to dry, and then you paint another layer. And this keeps your paints separated so you keep them very clean, again, and not muddy. As you continue to layer, always be aware of your highlights, as they can get lost easily and they are very important to your painting. I'm going to add some of this warmth to her forehead now that it's dry, and this part of her forehead has a very soft shadow as her head turns. I'm going to use my scrub brush and pull out some of the paint by her hairline because I lost the highlight there. It doesn't need to be pure white, but once you add all the colors around, it will appear light and bright. She does have a little pink and purple here on her cheek and even in the highlight. Make sure you always start out light so you can always go darker, but it's really hard to pull it back from dark to light. We have some shadows over here from her hair that I want to get. We will start with our warm mix and then darken it later. The sun is shining through her hair, and that's where we will get that warmth. This ear will be very red since the sun is shining on the back of it, and we will get more across her cute little nose. It's actually lighter under her nose than on top because of the reflected light coming from her shirt. I will start darkening up areas of the hair now, more pigment and less water. I use a tan mix and add some violet to create the hair color. It doesn't need to be exact as long as the values are correct. If you are unsure about values, you can watch my video on values first to understand their importance, and I will have it linked in the description below. Her eyes are blue. Well, actually, they're hazel, but today they have blue with some brown tones in them. This is where I'm going to let it dry completely before I add anything else. I don't want it to get muddy. So as it is drying, we're going to create the background. I want grays with blues and purples. I know I could use a pre-mixed color of gray, but I want to show you how you can create the whole painting with just a few colors, especially for beginners, those who don't have a lot of money to spend on paints. She has some flyaway hairs that the light is catching, so I want to make sure I capture those. I can do that with negative space painting, and I do have a video on negative space, and I will link it below. I don't want to try and capture all of them because that wouldn't look right, so I just want to get a few. See how adding the background and those small highlights made her pop even more? And now that everything is dry, we can evaluate where we need to go from here. Other than our highlights, we can see that most everything else is very close in value. So we need to push those darks now even more. It's the balance of the values, or the darks versus the lights, that will hold this whole painting together. We are trying to create light within our painting. I'm going to start by adding another layer to her ribbon, and now I will move to darken her neck, which will help me to know how dark I will need to push the darks in her face. I will use ultramarine blue and cad red to make our shadow color, but it will lead a little bit towards the blue. I'm going to create a simple layer like that over the top. The shadow area, I'm going to add a little bit more red and some water. I want to glaze this on top. Let's try this again. There we go. That's what I want. I want to be careful around the chin because there is a reflected highlight creating a beautiful shadow. When going back into an area that is wet, you need to make sure your paint is slightly thicker than it was before so you don't add blossoms or unwanted marks. It will just sit on top. So to achieve this, you just add a little bit more pigment to your mixture that you already have. Here is where we want to be very careful where the shadow and light meet. Some areas will have hard lines and some will have soft. I want to go on both sides of this cheek and soften the edges. The curve of the cheek will create that softness on both sides. We are working on small sections at a time so that we don't get overwhelmed and miss areas we need to keep soft. Some of these areas have dried enough that I can get back to them. It's very important to watch how much water you have in an area before you add more paint, because that's all it would take to mess up your painting by creating muddy colors. We are going to move away from the face as it dries and focus on the hair and the ribbon to bring up their values. Again, the importance of bouncing around your painting to keep your values in check. We want to give the appearance of hair without creating every single strand. The face has dried, but I feel like we've lost some of the vibrancy and warmth, so I will add some oranges and reds very quickly and in soft glazes to get that back. Now for our dark darks, we will start with the mouth and move to the eyes, adding more warmth to her face, always making sure it's completely dry before adding more paint. And I'm adding more definition to the face as we do this. The painting can always feel a little weird before you add the eyes, and sometimes you'll be tempted to do those first, but you have to remember to do them with their values so you don't make them too light or too dark. And it really is a powerful point. Once you put those eyes in, it will completely transform your painting. It's the part of the painting that really brings it to life, from just being a image to being something real for us. As we move to our darks, this is where we define our details and really pull the whole painting together, getting all those little details in place. I know many of us struggle with portraits, and I would love to hear what part you guys would like me to focus on to help you guys to better your portrait painting, whether it's the face structure, eyes, mouth, hair. Let me know in the comments below, and I would love to create a video that will help guide you to creating a better portrait for yourself. Now I'm going to add a little bit of white using a jelly roll to some areas I want a little highlight for some strands of hair and things like that, and it will really help make the rest of it pop. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and to hit that bell, and I'll see you in the next one.